So the review shows that there was no mistake. There was no malpractice. Yes, it's a tragic story. It's a sad story, serious injury or death, but it's not the doctor's fault. So says the hospital. So says their review team. But you don't agree with it. You believe in your heart, you believe in your soul, there was mistakes. What do you do? Now, sometimes you don't even get a disclosure meeting. Sometimes you don't get empathy. You don't get anything. Except the only thing you see is the backs of the doctors as they run for the hills. You continually get the door slammed in your face. What do you do in that set of circumstances? Well, two different scenarios I've put out to you. You don't believe in the review, or you just have a full-blown cover-up in your hand. Two different scenarios, but one answer. Find a good lawyer and pursue all options with that attorney. And we talked to you earlier in these videos, as well as the ebook, Did the Doctor Make a Mistake?, about how to find a good lawyer and what you need to think about. And I encourage you to think about all those different things because they're important. But I want you to think about something else too. And this is very important. And I say this from the heart as a family member who has gone through this twice. You should never, ever feel ashamed or embarrassed or feel weird or anything, have any other negative feelings about talking to a lawyer and possibly pursuing a lawsuit. I say this because I talk with patients and families all around the country, and understand I'm a good Midwestern boy. I grew up in Cincinnati. I live in St. Louis. I get home to Cincinnati a ton. And I know Midwestern people, as well as people from other areas of the country, will sometimes come out and say, "Well, I wasn't raised this way. I wasn't raised to file lawsuits. I'm not for lawyers. I don't like lawsuits and litigation." Well, you know what? Most patients and families, very few people, are pro litigation, are pro lawsuits. But you have rights. You have a right to get answers. You have a right to get closure and healing. If you believe a mistake happened and it has hurt you financially, you have a right to get that taken care of. And I want you to think about and understand that doctors and nurses and hospitals and insurance companies, they have lots of lawyers. And whenever something goes wrong, they are never ashamed or embarrassed about picking up the phone and calling one of those people. So you shouldn't either. So if you have done everything you can, if you have gone back to the doctor, if you have treated this like a customer service complaint, if you have tried to escalate within the organization, you have done everything you should, but the review is not credible, or you just getting the door slammed in your face repeatedly, then it's time to go find that good lawyer and pursue all options. And the process may work, or it may start with the lawyer simply picking up the phone and calling the hospital, requesting records, writing a letter, making some phone calls, and that may jar the hospital, the doctors, to their senses. They all of a sudden might start to take you seriously. They may start to empathize with you. They may start to do a credible review, and whoops, the review showed we made a mistake, and then apologize and try to work with you and your attorney to resolve the situation quickly and fairly without having to head off to court. Unfortunately, sometimes doctors and hospitals work that way. But even today, there are still hospitals and doctors that won't even do that. They will simply duck and cover and run and hide, and they won't budge an inch. They won't acknowledge even an obvious mistake unless you sue them, unless you go to court and sue them. And sometimes when you file that lawsuit, that may jar them into reality, and then they might begin to work the process, including, their defense lawyer telling the doctor, "Hey, look, we did the review. You made a mistake. We need to take care of these people, and you need to apologize, and I'll help you with that meeting, but it's got to get done." But that might not even happen. You may have to go all the way through the litigation process. You may have to do, what is known as deposition, where they do interviews and do discovery, where you get information from them and they get information from you, and you may have to go all the way to court. It may happen. If you're due information, if you're due answers, if you need that closure and healing, if you have needs that need to be met, financial as well as emotional, I really encourage you to go through this process. Yes, it's a tough process. Yes, it can take a long time. Yes, it can sometimes interrupt your grief or stall your grief or add to your grief. But I've just talked to too many patients and families who, for whatever reason, including, I wasn't raised to file a lawsuit, who didn't pursue litigation, and then, the statute of limitations passed, they can't pursue that information anymore, can't pursue that claim anymore, and then they're living in regret because they don't get their answers, they don't get answers to their questions, they don't have their needs met, and those questions, those needs don't go away. And sometimes you can get huge rifts within families that never get healed because Uncle John, he wanted to do something. He had a lawyer lined up, but, mom and dad, they just weren't raised that way. And holiday dinners are never the same again. Literally, figuratively. So my take-home message to you in this section is, do all you can, as I said, in the customer service framework of going back to the doctor and working from there. But at the end of the day, if none of that works, don't ever feel ashamed or embarrassed about filing a lawsuit. It's your right, and it's something you may need to do.